Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Exam 1. What? What do you mean they won't renew us? Did you try Netflix? They'll renew anything for at least 3 seasons. Welcome to the one and only episode of Exam 1. I am your host, Caitlin Galbraith, and this is my co-host, Glenn Bach. This evening, we will be examining the piece called Fragment of Wall Hanging with Confronted Cocks and Running Dogs. Such a creative title. Now, over to our in-house art historian, Caitlin Galbraith, for some general information. Caitlin? Thank you, Caitlin. As our lovely host just told you, today we will be looking at Fragment of Wall Hanging with Confronting Cocks and Running Dogs. The artist of this piece is a mystery, but the Met claims that it may have been made somewhere in Byzantine Egypt by someone belonging to the Coptic culture, somewhere around the 4th to 6th century. That's all from me. Now back to Caitlin Galbraith. Thank you, Caitlin. But before we move on, will you give us a detailed description of the artwork? You're, gonna have it on the screen, right? But could you describe it for us in detail, please? But they can just see it on the screen. Do it or you're fired. And now it's time for a detailed description of the artwork. The size of Fragment of Wall Hanging with Confronting Cocks and Running Dogs is 12 and 13/16 by 24 and 5/16 freedom units, or inches if you prefer. It is a long rectangle widthways and is made from wool and linen. The color scheme of this piece is tertiary, with its greeny blues, orangey reds, and yellowy oranges. Depicted on the wall hanging are confronting cocks and running dogs. The two roosters are a lot bigger than the dogs, meaning either that roosters used to be a lot larger than they are today, or they are meant to be the focal point of this piece. So let us focal on this point for just a moment. As you can see, the shape of the roosters is symmetrical, though the designs on their bodies and their colors are asymmetrical. Also, the darker of the birds has an outline in white, while the lighter of the birds does not, making it seem as if the darker bird is thick and the light bird is not. Between them are these stacks of pokeballs, or grapes as the Met informs me, along with some grape leaves around their feet. Above them are 2 dogs, 1 dog each, and they appear to be going bleh. The dog above the white rooster is yellowy orange, while the dog above the blue-green rooster is white, giving a whole balance to the piece. Lastly, I would like to direct your attention to the various swooshy-doos scattered around the piece. I like them and think they are good. Back to you, Caitlin. That was a very interesting, Caitlin. But how does the piece make you feel? Feel? Feel. Feel? Feel. 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 Oh my dear fragment of wall hanging with confronted cocks and running dogs. How can I even begin to describe the emotion/feeling/mood that you evoke? Shall I compare you to a summer's day? No, I shan't, because I hate summer, but I love you. The first time I laid eyes on you, I was filled with delight at the way you reminded me of Dutch folk art. I mean, seriously, look at this. You could be twins. The comfort of your imagery that reminded me of something I would see painted in a country kitchen. Your muted, yet harmonious colors lay pleasingly on my retinas. Ah, but what is this? The Met says that you depict cockfighting? Something I cannot abide by. I feel betrayed and disgusted. But no, I do not blame you, my lovely fragment of wall hanging with confronted cocks and running dogs. For I cannot blame a son for the sins of his father, and though you may have been created for violence, I see nothing but a homey comfort in your wefts, and a gentle farm boy in your warp. Okay, now for some context on this piece, I'm going to send you over to our resident history historian, Smaitlin Smalbrith. Smaitlin? Hi, my name is Smaitlin Smatey Smalbrith, but you can call me Smatey if you don't feel like saying my whole name. I'm here reporting from the floor of my kitchen to tell you all about the context of Fragment of Wall Hanging with Confronting Cocks and Running Dogs. Textiles were used for a number of things in the Byzantine era, including clothing and wall hangings. In the article Byzantine Textile by Anna Ganosova, it states that hangings, curtains, and carpets executed in various materials and techniques were regular components of domestic and official architecture, both secular and religious. So something like fragment of wall hanging with confronting cocks and 2 running dogs was not out of the ordinary to see in someone's home. The Met website said that this fragment was probably part of a larger wall hanging that was either put on the wall for decoration or covered a door. It was probably in an elite's home, judging by the subject matter of the fragment, the grapes and the cockfighting being depictions of some pleasures of the big boys in charge. Something else to keep in mind, as stated in the video Fragments for Granted, people in the Middle Ages were much more aware of textiles and really valued them, which is very different from today's culture where we are more likely to get a piece of clothing, wear it one time, and then get rid of it due to fast fashion and trends really pushing us to consume and get rid of textiles pretty quickly. And that's all from me down here on the kitchen floor. Back to you, Caitlin. Thank you, Smatey. Now it's time for our segment called I'm Going to Ask You Some Questions and Not Give You Any Answers. It's the segment of our show where I ask you questions and don't give you any answers. Question 1. What was the method of dyeing the yarn that was used for making the textiles? Question 2. Is there a connection between this piece and Dutch folk art, or is my brain making a connection where there isn't any? Question 3. Where's the rest of it? I want to see it. Where did it go? And that's all for us today here at Exam 1 Studios. Thank you for joining us tonight on our first and last episode. Have a good evening. That was it. Let's see. Okay. That's freaking done. I'm done. I'm hot and I'm done. Frick off.